Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Authentic Info Podcast. I'm your host, Adma Sandra. Over the weekend, the EFF hosted their elections workshop. I think it was a 2 days event. In all the highlights, a lot of people have been focusing on what they call an endorsement by the CIC Julius Malema on Ndlozi, Mbuyiseni Ndlozi, to become or to prepare to be the premier of Gauteng, because he says that they are certain, 100% sure that they are taking Gauteng in 2024 and no one will do anything about it. That's how sure they are. But there are a lot of highlights or a lot of facts that a lot of things that he spoke about that I think a lot of people did not focus on, because they were attracted, or they were amazed by the endorsement that we had from the CIC Julius Malema, saying that Ndlozi must prepare to be the leader in Gauteng, or premier. But there are other people who were shocked to say, if he's not chairperson, why is he going to be a premier? But you need to understand that the president decides. And in the AFF, things are done differently. And before he uttered that point, is that he said that there won't be any deputy ministers in the EFF-led government, because he is of the view and believes that it's a waste of state money and resources to have, because deputy ministers, according to Julius Malema, they serve no purpose. They are useless. They just waste state money. But other than that, he spoke about, or he taught them about the discipline, saying that when they speak to the voters, they must respect them. They must make sure that they don't speak to the voters when they are drunk. They don't speak to the voters when they are smoking, of which is a good thing. We know politicians, when there are these campaigns, one thing that they love or use the most or focus on is alcohol. They will be driving drunk, reckless in the streets, making noise and things like that. So for a leader like him to condemn such actions, I think it's the first time I hear from a president of a political party condemning such actions, because he knows, he is aware that there is no way that these people will go a day or 12 hours of being on the ground without drinking. They drink in the morning. We know comrades, they drink a lot. But he says when they are drunk, they must not engage, which is a good thing. Because I think it's quite reckless to speak with to an elder when you are drunk, when you are smoking, or things like that, or when you are even drinking or having a bottle on your hand. So these are some of the things that he highlighted to say they must do away from. And another thing is that he challenged them to talk at least one-on-one with voters, convinced them one-on-one. And their target is 10 million one-on-one engagement. And for that, he says they will need at least 490 volunteers who will be trained on the elections manual. And then these are the people who are going to engage with voters on the ground, and they need to be confirmed by head office. So we hear this type of leadership for the first time on my side. The way these guys are organized and the way they are prepared to take government. And one of the most highlight, or my best highlight of his speech, is that he says, Julius Malema says that he is prepared to, he's not prepared, for votes and things like that. But when they take power, this is after the elections have been announced. When they take power, he's prepared for the following day after elections. That is what he is prepared for. So this comes as a challenge to the fighters, the EFF supporters, to say they must deliver him as president in 2024. because he has given them everything. That's what he's saying. He's giving them the strategy, techniques, and everything. So they must go on the ground and work and deliver him as president in 2024. So I think he is ready, and he is trying to conscientize the people on the ground to come to understand or prepare or to be ready to be led by him. A lot of people are asking questions of what's going to happen if the ANC loses power in 2024. This is what a lot of people are asking. I've been also asked by some of the people who are close to say, what's going to happen if the ANC loses power in 2024? Is there going to be war or things like that? But the answer is simple. What happened in 94? It's worse because in 1994, the ANC was never tested in government anywhere. It was never tested in government anywhere. But the people trusted them with votes, majority of votes, and they went to government. And they needed white people to transfer power, skills, and other ways of governance. That is why they had to go govern. But 30 years later, that shouldn't be our worry, because all these top four political parties, we have seen them testing leadership, testing government. We've seen them in different provinces, in different municipalities. So we know these people, we know these guys, and we know that they are capable and they are growing. So if a political party like the EFF takes power, I think this is one of the things that makes them to say they won't consider deputy presidents, because they can see that they need more than 30 people to be ministers, and their deputies, which is 60. And we know ministers to be familiar faces who have been on the ground. So when they cut deputies, they know that they will still be left with familiar faces to lead these ministries, and there won't be any worries. But another question is, what's going to happen? Because I think they will need a lot of leaders or people to deploy. Imagine the director generals or all political positions in government. They will have to uproot all of them, which means the directors in all governments are going. They're going to change them and put EFF people. Because we heard him in one speech saying that he is going to hunt with his own dogs, which means they are going to recall everyone who's deployed by the ANC. So we need to prepare for such transition. And this means even the diplomats who are abroad, all of them are going to be recalled. I know that they're comfortable having nice time in Belgium, in America, in France. All of them, these are ANC people. And obvious, if the EFF wins, if the ANC loses, these people will have to be recalled. They will have to come back to South Africa and start a new life. And the EFF will have to deploy its people to all these offices or houses of diplomats abroad. So the EFF will need a lot of people, and will need to scrutinize all these people who they will be deploying. So this is one thing that a lot of people do not see. When we say we need to learn and understand politics, I still have a lot to learn and understand. That is why I'm very curious about the change of power. What is going to happen? And I'm prepared for that, because I've never witnessed that. In 1994, our parents witnessed that. And because the ANC, I don't think it was ready, they made correct calculations and preparations to govern. They deployed a lot of criminals in critical positions, and it collapsed the state. So if a party like the EFF wins election. And I think this is one thing that makes him to go back to recruit these old guys, because he needs their experience. Now I understand why he allowed people like Jimmy Manye to come in and send them straight to be members of parliament, because they know the dynamics of these things. Because when they take power, it means the directors, the director general, generals in all government, the area commissioners, the national commissioners, the all these provincial leaders of various departments will have to be recalled, because these are ANC people. They will have to be recalled, and the EFF must employ and deploy its own dogs. And they must be careful not to deploy criminals to strategic positions, because the country is already down. South Africa is already on its knees, and they will have to be careful. That is why when he speaks when he spoke on that elections workshop, he said they have not forgotten to push their comrades to study, because they understand that at least if he has people with qualifications who will be posted to relevant positions, he will be safe. Other than someone who has long been there, who will just boast that we removed Zuma, we did that, we removed Ramaphosa, we challenged this, we exposed that. This person will still have to go into that strategic position to try and figure out what is it that is there for. So if you already have someone who has a master's degree in economics or things like that, you understand that this person, it will be easy for this person to understand the policies and implement. If you have someone with an honors degree, you'll understand that this can be a director with a master's degree, with a PhD. This can be a director of this department. This can be a head in this department, because they already have the knowledge. And what is needed there is to go in and implement the policy. Because in South Africa, we are good on paper. Everything is readily available on paper. The procedures that needs to be followed to run a particular institution or department, they are there on paper. It's just that people, when they arrive in these positions, they don't know what to do. There are people who are deployed by the ANC when they become ministers in social development, ministers in various ministries. They don't know what to do. The reason Poppy Ramathuba in Limpopo is seen to be doing something is because she is within a relevant MMC position, within a relevant department. And I think had the ANC used that strategy everywhere else, we shouldn't be in the mess that we are in now. Because when you are a doctor heading health, we know what to expect from you. Understand, we had people like Zweli Mkhize who flopped in their positions as ministers because of greed. But if following him is another doctor and things like that, they would hold him to account. So if it's the Ministry of Health, you need doctors to be there. If it's, let's say, finance, you need people with finance, economics. You need chartered accountants to be there. People who understand the flow of cash and things like that, and the economy entirely. And we need ministers. President Beki speak about something which is very interesting, that in his administration, the Minister of Finance would understand what is happening in agriculture, what is happening in policing and things like that. But now we see a minister, for example, Minister of Social Development, who knows nothing about finance. And they know nothing, they don't care about other ministries. They are focused on that one. What type of leadership, what type of administration is that? So I understand why the CIC is very curious about the problem of education when it comes to comrades. in the EFF, and he encourages them to study. When you get a position in the EFF, let's say you have a matric, they don't have a problem, they will give it to you. But they challenge you that within these 5 years, come out with a degree, come up with something, so that the EFF is run by people who have knowledge, skills, and capabilities and qualifications. And that is going to deliver economic freedom in our lifetime. Because we cry and say we need industries. We no longer want to export gold as raw. It must be processed in South Africa. But do we have people with the necessary skills to process gold to be a fine product that will be put on the market? We still need the Chinese. We still need their machinery, which is still a job creation for them. But had these ministries of mineral resources and things like that led by people who understand what positions they occupy, I think it would be easy for us to speak that language. Because I understand a lot of people blames Mbeki for his administration, and now that he's coming to try and educate us. But it makes sense. Even on the land question, he said he agrees with the EFF, everything is correct. But are we ready to take the banks? If Bolisi Jahanyaho are trusted with South African Reserve Bank, and when they have to hold to account a high-profile politician, a head of state, they release reports that they say are private and confidential and say the president was not wrong. But they don't want to show us how did they arrive into such conclusions. Are we ready to take the banks to be on the hands of black people if we are still having people like Polisi Jahanyaho? That is the questions that the old man Thabo Mbeki is trying to ask. And in answering those questions, we get solutions to the problems of South Africa. That is why education and quality education that the EFF is talking about is very important. It's very important. So the speech of the EFF leader, CIC, on the elections workshop was not necessarily about to endorse Ndlozi to be premier of Gauteng. It was to say that they are quite certain that they are taking Gauteng in 2024, and to say that they are ready for total victory and take South Africa and lead South Africa after 2024 to be the ruling party. So they are preparing people's minds to be ready for an EFF-led government. And I think it is quite correct. People must be educated, not on the last hour, about voter education or things like that, but a year before, 6 months before, 4 months before, so that when they arrive into voting districts, they know what to do. They see all these corrupt activities of the IEC, and then they prevent them and even escort these ballots to where they are supposed to be counted, so that we are satisfied of any results that comes out. Recently, there were votes in Zimbabwe. Chamisa is not satisfied. Triple C is not satisfied. And because they planned their things very well, the ruling party saw that they are losing or they have lost elections. They started to brutalize, they started to intimidate them and disrupt everything that they had to do with Triple C. Because ZANU-PF was disorganized, and they know that the majority of the people of Zimbabwe do not like ZANU-PF anymore. So I think in South Africa we can be wise and deal with these coming elections in 2024, very strategic, that no one No political party is disrupted. No political leader is threatened. No voting district where the IEC will advocate for the ANC. The elections must be fair and square. The political parties that win or lose must do that or must go through that in a fair manner. This is Authentic Info Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the notification bell. Let's grow together. Comment section is open. Give me your views, like, and let's grow together. Subscribe. Thank you.